We are reviewing here the procedure to replace a end bell on a power-corded 5-chamber pump. Very similar to very similar to either a 58 motor or a 52 motor power-corded pump. So the end bell kit will arrive. The first thing to do is get the pump, and we're going to, if you have a switch style pump, we're going to first disconnect the wires that are coming from the switch back to the back to the end of the motor by just taking them apart. These are amp spade connectors. We'll take those off. Then we're going to proceed to remove the end bell. We use a T20 Torx type of a driver. Can be also on the electric driver, of course. Okay. As we're removing the existing end bell assembly, it just simply comes out. The brushes, which are spring-loaded, are going to pop off of this portion inside here called the commutator. That's the copper piece there. So what you have exposed here is the bearing, the end bearing, which fits inside the end bell kit, and the brushes are riding on the commutator. That is this portion here. So now, once we've done to install the new end bell, we simply line up the screw parts accordingly. So we have keyway entries right here. There are two keyways. You can see as you go around the edge of the end bell, you have these two keyways right here. Those two keyways go in these slots. So that's how you can line up the end cap onto there as such. Maybe the trickiest part is to move out the spring-loaded brushes, which have to go over the bearing, and then they have to go onto the commutator. But with your fingers, what you do is you move them out, which clears the bearing, and then with a tool, could be a screwdriver. In this case, we're using a hand torque wrench. What we've done is just pushed the brushes aside carefully, so they now are riding onto the commutator, and then the end cap closes all the way, and you'll see that the two slots here that were on the end cap are matching the shell. That way you know it's positioned correctly. So that assures that now you have the end cap placed under the shell. We're going to put the screws back in. This is also kind of a tricky part, because as you're putting, we have some magnets inside the shell, so as you're putting this bolt back in, the magnets are pulling it to one side. So you have to wiggle this bolt left and right, kind of center it against the force of the magnet, and make sure it reaches the other end. That's going to take a little bit of work, but it's just a little trick. You wiggle the bolt, make sure it's lined up. You will know it's correctly placed when you are able to start catching some thread as you screw it in. We'll try it again on this end. So the bolt goes in, magnet's pulling it to one side. You can hear it and you can feel it when it snaps in on the other side, on the bottom, and you've cut some threads. So it'll start fairly easily going back on. Now that we've done that, we're going to tighten the bolts back down. Typically a good hand tighten is enough. If you needed a specific torque, it's somewhere around 25 to 27 or 25 inch pounds of torque to be able to secure the bolts on. But we're going to say that a good hand tighten is by far okay. Okay, and once you're done putting the bolts back into place, we just reconnect. We're going to reconnect these wires. Doesn't matter how. So again, if you have a demand switch version pump such as this one, where you have a demand switch, the two wires coming out of the demand switch now have to be connected to the two spade connectors here coming out of the end bell. As such. And you've now completed the replacement of an end bell kit.